week 16 of the fantasy football season. And here's a few tight ends I looked at on the wire this week. The first guy, Juwan Johnson of the New Orleans Saints. Juwan Johnson, it's been a pretty solid year with him this year, especially finding the end zone. Him and Andy Dalton have a great rapport. And Juwan Johnson returned after missing the last couple games with injury. So the last few weeks here for him, week 10 at Pittsburgh, 5 catches, 44 yards, a touchdown. Week 11 versus the Rams, 3 catches, 47 yards, a touchdown. Then he sat out week 12, 13, 14 out of bye. And then week 15 versus Atlanta, a big ball game, 4 catches, 67 yards, and 2 touchdowns. So right now available in tons of fantasy leagues at 80% here is Juwan Johnson. And he's a guy that can help fantasy owners. He doesn't have the greatest of matchups at the Cleveland Browns here in week 16. But like I said, he's a dynamic tight end. Used to be a wide receiver when he first came into the league. And right now he's a tight end to go out there and get. The next guy's Taysom Hill, his teammate of the New Orleans Saints. I know Taysom Hill is more of a quarterback than anything. Well, right now he qualifies at tight end in fantasy football here is Taysom Hill. So the last few games here for him getting more of gadget plays and more snaps as well in the lineup. So for a guy who could be a hybrid at tight end, who plays the quarterback position and does many things, it's a good ad this week, no doubt about it, is Taysom Hill. Available right now, 53% of fantasy leagues. So the last few weeks here for him, week 11 versus the Rams, 14 pass yards, 52 rush yards, a catch, 8 yards. Week 12 at San Francisco, didn't do much in that ball game. 6 carries, 13 yards, a catch, 7 yards. Week 13 at Tampa, 21 pass yards, 3 carries, 10 rush yards, 2 catches, 35 yards, and a receiving touchdown. And then week 15 here versus Atlanta, a good ball game it was for Taysom Hill. 80 passing yards, a touchdown, and 7 carries, 30 yards. So right here, week 16, I think we'll see a little bit more of the same on the road at the Cleveland Browns here for Taysom Hill and this New Orleans Saints team. So Hill available in 53% of fantasy leagues. He's a guy that's a gadget guy. He can do many things. And for him to qualify a tight end and put up pretty decent numbers, he's definitely an ad this week. The next guy's Brock Wright of the Detroit Lions. So Brock Wright, I'm not expecting you to go out there, pick him up and put him in your lineup, but he's a guy I got to talk about with a big 51-yard touchdown to end the ball game and beat the New York Jets pretty much under 2 minutes left for this Lion team. So this Lion team started off the season 1-6, but right now they're really flying high is this team here, getting things going. So the last few games here for Brock Wright. Week 11 at the Giants, 2 catches, 20 yards. Week 12 versus the Bills, 2 catches, 6 yards. Week 13 versus Jacksonville, 2 catches, 25 yards. Week 14 versus Minnesota, 1 target. And then week 15 at the Jets, like I said, a catch, 51 yards, and a touchdown. So right now, he's not a guy I'm going to expect much out of him, but definitely a guy to talk about. And he's available in 100% of fantasy leagues. The next guy's Noah Fant of the Seattle Seahawks. So the carousel of the tight end position this season, it's just been out of control. These guys have one good week, one bad week, have a great week, disappear for weeks. But anyway, Noah Fant, now he's going to get more targets and I think be a more vocal point of the offense with Tyler Lockett out with the finger injury. For the last few games here for Fant, week 12 versus Vegas, 3 catches, 34 yards. Week 13 at the Rams, 4 catches, 42 yards, and a touchdown. Week 14 at a goose egg versus Carolina. And then week 15 versus the Niners, and bounce back game, 5 catches, 32 yards, and a touchdown. So right here, week 16 in the ball game at the Chiefs, where I think they're going to be chasing points, obviously, and have to throw the football a whole lot here as the Seattle Seahawks team. I think Noah Fant could carve out a decent ball game. And right now, he's available in tons of fantasy leagues here as Fant, in 78% of leagues. And the fifth and final tight end I look to get on the wire this week here is Jordan Akins of the Houston Texans. I've mentioned Akins a few times this season here, and he's not the greatest of tight ends, but he's a guy that's at least putting up numbers on and off this season here for this Texan team that obviously has been trailing a lot this season and have to throw the football a lot. So the last few games here for Akins, week 13 versus Cleveland, 3 catches, 21 yards. Week 14 at Dallas, a catch, 5 yards. And week 15 versus Kansas City, 3 catches, 22 yards, and a touchdown. So obviously he's a big red zone target. At week 16, he's got a good ball game at the Titans that give up the 4th most fantasy points to tight ends on the season. So right now, that's a few tight ends I looked at on the wire for week 16 of the fantasy football season.